I was able to get over to St. Paul this week, and several of you have mentioned this particular thrift store to me, St. Vincent de Paul. I loved the vibe. They had lovely items. It was so well organized. Let me take you inside and show you around. Okay, before I get too far into this video, I want to take a minute and say hi to Lee. She and I met at this thrift store. She walked up to me and said that she follows my channel. I cannot tell you what a thrill it is to even think that people follow. I mean, I know that I have viewers, but truly, are they bots or who is it? And I've had it happen a couple times. Thank you, Lee, for coming up and saying that you follow my channel. We talked for such a long time. We had such a great visit. So thank you. This thrift store, I have been told by several viewers that this is one to pop into. And unfortunately, we were in St. Paul for a funeral. So on our way back home, Brian and I headed this way, and I popped in. And what I noticed immediately was just the vibe. And I've talked about the vibe before of community thrift stores. It feels different to me. It feels better to me. And I really liked what I saw and what I found. In my last video, I asked you all if you liked when I talked through the videos, and it was a resounding yes. So that surprised me. So I will chit chat with you and tell you what I think and what I look for and why I like certain things. And so let me take you along with me. What the first thing I saw when I came around the corner were these little bins of just uh, smaller handbags and makeup bags. I ended up grabbing a couple of them, and you'll see that as we go on. But it was a mixture of vintage and just makeup bags that you might get as promos. That's one that I got. That is a Jessica McClintock gunny sack. I ended up getting two bags by that designer, and I came back around and got it on the second go around. There was so much to look at that sometimes when I walk into new places like this, I get a little overwhelmed because I don't know if I should immediately start choosing things or if there's more to be found. So it takes me a minute to get my self settled when I pop in a new place. And I wanted to mention in stores like this, and again, it's a feel that was Sundance. I didn't really take a lot of photos of the prices. I just want to share with you that it really was fairly priced, and some of the donations were really quite good. My theory on that is it's close, this store is close to Summit Avenue, and Summit Avenue in St. Paul has gorgeous, gorgeous homes. I'm wondering if some of those donations come from that beautiful part of town. And if you know where these donations come from, I'd be curious. But going back to, I'm careful when I go into these community thrift stores to not take things that could be used truly by people in need. I've talked so much about this on my channel about resellers, stealing from the poor, and people have come out in droves to support me that reselling isn't the easiest thing on the planet to do, and that truly resellers do not intend to take items from the poor. But I am conscious of that, and I'm aware of that. And in a place such as this, okay, look at these cool labeled bins. They had two different areas where all of these bins, drawers, cool old vintage drawers, were marked and the items were inside. I love that. There's the blue one. I don't know where these came from, what this was in the past. If the must have been that these were brought in for display. How cool is that? So books and tons of books and craft and office, and I go in places like this and choose items that I don't feel would be helpful, or I want to say necessary. Maybe that's a harsh word, but I stay away from items that truly, in my opinion, I don't mean to cause any sort of, conflict. In my opinion, maybe wouldn't be chosen as something of a need. The last video I did was at a community thrift store called the Chap Store, and I only chose one item there. It was a Afghan, a crocheted Afghan. When I left here, I chose three handbags and a little vintage needlepoint pillow. That's where I saw Lee. She was ahead of me, and we started chatting about the pillow. And then she kind of looked at me like, "Do I know her?" And it was quite fun. We talked as we were leaving the store. But look at this, scarves. There were bras. There were different little items that fit into these drawers. I didn't take. I didn't take. No, I didn't take anything. I didn't pay for anything that I felt could be used by people that truly need them. The shoppers in this store seemed to kind of know everybody. There was a back room. You go up this little ramp, and there was more uh, not really hard goods, but there was this area on either side. It was this old building with all of these cool built-ins, and then the workforce, the work staff seemed to be in between these two areas in this little, like, would you call it like a vestibule? Dog outfits, dog costumes. There was the pillows, the shoes were back here, artwork. So there's two whole sides to this store. I think the donations might come in through the back area, and then things were being processed in between that front area I showed you. I love when they have mobility devices. That's an indication to me. Is that a bird cage? That's an indication to me of a true community thrift. You don't see that at the Goodwill. You don't see that at Savers. When I was at the Chap store, I went into a Savers over that way. This was gorgeous. This was like a leather bound magazine rack. I didn't show you many of the prices. I would just want to share with you it was fair. It was fairly priced. It was good donations with really fair pricing on it. When I went into the Savers, tried to do a video for you. I couldn't find anything worth showing you. The prices were outrageous. It was so marked up. I don't understand. Are the Goodwill stores trying, and the Savers, are Goodwill and Savers stores trying to just become obsolete? I truly wonder that, because the donations are so high, they're so marked up. Do you think there's the pillow? It's a pillow that I found for $1.99. It just almost feels to me that they want an online presence, and they are becoming so high with their pricing that they just want to go away. Am I wrong about that? What do you think about that? A store like this continues to feel like the way thrift stores should feel. And I'm so happy to be able to show you around these stores if you've ever thought about coming. That's my main focus on what I'm trying to do around the Twin Cities, is just walk through these stores, profile them. I'd be interested to know if you know any others that you think I should go to. I tend to build my videos around things that my husband and I are doing and when we're out and about. I have been to so many church rummage sales over the last several months, and I just gathered. These are the two handbags that I got. This blue one, and then that kind of purpley mauve colored. Both were Jessica McClintock. And then I found a crossbody bag, and along with that pillow. Those were the four items that I purchased. So I just did a cleanup of all my whole office area. I have more inventory. I must have 6 IKEA bags and 2 garbage bags full of inventory in the room next to my office, which I'm so fortunate to have all this space. But I needed to pull it all together. I do not need to go buy any inventory. I don't need to come in these stores and purchase things. And I think sometimes content creators go to these places and just keep purchasing so that they have content to show you. I'm going to keep giving you content, but I'm not going to keep buying. I don't need to keep buying. What happens when I get home with all of these donations, or not the church donations, the fill-a-bag sales that I go to, I'll go through, take the time, find out if anything is worth listing. At jewelry behind the counter, and it wasn't high priced. I think it was just a way to organize it and keep track of it, and this cute little handbag behind the counter. I don't need to buy anymore. I'm not going to keep shopping just for the sake of having content to show you. But what I am going to do is I'm going to keep going into these stores, and I'm going to keep showing you around them, and hoping that you, by watching, you're able to think about coming in and shopping this way as well. That's the true idea for content that I have, is just showcasing them. I don't want any more things. So as I was making my way around, like I said, I go through 2 or 3 times because there's just so much, especially in a store like this. I don't quite know what I'm looking for. I don't have my bearings. So I will take myself around a couple times before I choose to pick up anything. And going back to what I just said, I purchased the 3 handbags and the pillow. Truly, I have so much right now that I've forgotten I'd hid it in a closet. There were a couple bags in my office closet. There were a couple bags in the secondary room. I didn't realize that until this morning. So my bold statement about not purchasing anything more came from after I went through this morning and cleaned up. Probably every week or so, I go through and clean up my office and all of the things that come in. I get a little claustrophobic. I've talked about that. I don't really like stuff, even though I collect so much stuff. I need to get it in and get it back out. And I will go through and donate back to, I like to go to Abelite Thrift. I'll donate back to Abelite the things that have value, but just aren't what I want to sell. Some of it is the breakable things. By the time you package it up and make sure it gets there safely, it takes a lot more work than some of the easier clothing items, although I'm not a huge fan of clothing. I guess I like, there's this gorgeous handmade, I think it was $99, absolutely stunning. And then there were 2 jackets. When the Super Bowl was in Minnesota, there were 2 jackets that I peeked at. But again, I just thought, someone actually might want that at that price. So I think there was profit to be made. I wouldn't have spent $99, but I thought about those 2 jackets. But there's someone that wants to wear that at that price. So I didn't want to take that home and mark that up. The shoppers were so friendly. I had 3 people talk to me, including Lee. When Lee and I were talking, there was a man leaving with his dog and said hello and have a nice day, ladies. And just everyone in there was just so darn nice. So, and they were talking to each other like they knew each other. Like the people behind the counter were asking, how are things going and how have you been? And like shopping this way. I'm really, really tired of the Goodwill. I've said that 1,000 times. I am going to make another trip back to the Goodwill bins. I'm going to try and go to the one in Brooklyn Park. The last time I was at the one in Chaska, it just was awful. It smelled, I didn't like it. And so I am going to try and make my way back to the Brooklyn Park Goodwill bins. I believe I've heard there, and I think I remember, I haven't been there in a long time, that there are more hard goods there, but I am going to need to take a real stab at all of that inventory that I had discovered over the last week, just like in a hoarding situation. So these were the nicer shoes. They kept just one here, and you had to ask for the mate. That happens at Goodwill where they have them behind glass where we are. So that doesn't surprise me. But I do like, I look for vintage linens when I'm here, the handbags, the scarves, the belts. Those are the things that take up very little room and I like to sell. So come check out St. Vincent de Paul. I think you're really, really going to like it here.